Is setting a strong pace, preceding just Stone Age. Also another of the Aidan O'Brien horses, Star of India, is very prominent, and West Wind Blows is the challenger, but they're bunching, and it was quite messy to begin with, but now the race has settled down, Lizzie.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the changing of the guard is obviously trying to set a good pace that will give Ryan Moore on Stone Age something to aim for.
Yep, well, he's setting a strong pace as they continue up the rising ground, and changing of the guard leads from West Wind Blows, the mount of Jack Mitchell, and then it is Ryan Moore on Stone Age and Star of India, the Aidan O'Brien pair riding side by side. Royal Patronage has got Desert Crown for company just on the outside. Richard Kingscote in a good position as they start the descent down Tattenham Corner. He looks well placed there, no danger at the moment. Pisbadale and Frankie Dettori trying to get a little closer. One or two struggling out the back include Nahini, ridden by last year's winning jockey Adam Kirby. Now the race, as they swing into the home straight, picks up now, and changing of the guard, and West Wind Blows running a big race. Stone Age is in an excellent position. Coming under pressure is Star of India. Desert Crown, if good enough, has an excellent chance in here. Royal Patronage race may be done. West Wind Blows still running a big race and changing of the guard. Desert Crown looks to be cruising at this stage, and Desert Crown has swept into the lead. My goodness me, reminiscent of Shogar. Here he goes. Desert Crown has got the race by the scruff of his neck here. Can he keep going? Richard Kingscote probably can't believe his luck that he's 3 or 4 lengths clear, and he's running a brilliant race at this stage, and he's ahead of Huyamal, who's run a big race. Richard Kingscote can afford to look over his shoulder. What a performance, outstanding from Desert Crown. 3 from 3, a 6th win in the race for the legend that is Sir Michael Stoute. How appropriate that he wins the Derby in memory of Lester Piggott. A terrific
a night when England need defiance, need their skill. It's the sort of atmosphere that would on this night make them feel a long way from home. But I can tell you that their mood is one of great defiance. They realise that this, for some of them, could be their last chance of making the World Cup finals, and they're determined to take it.
In again now for McDermott. Can he cross it in there? Brooking! And he's there!
Well, for England fans of a certain age, they will remember that. That's that shot from Trevor Brooke in his second goal. It just stuck in the stanchion, and everybody of a certain age who watched that game remembers that. We're just watching it again now, Jim Proud, but what a hit that was.
I can remember this. I was allowed to stay up late and watch it. It was on live on ITV. I would have been 8, I suppose. But yeah, I was allowed to stay up and watch it. And I can vividly remember him arrowing it into the top left-hand corner and it getting, as you say, stuck in the stanchion. It was a big win. I mean, even from that point, it wasn't plain sailing, because England then contrived to lose in Norway later in the group, and now to beat Hungary again So it was only doing the double over the team that actually won the group that got England through. But that meant that England were in the World Cup for the first time in my lifetime, and for several other people who are, now in their late 40s, early 50s, all the same. So the first time we remember England playing in the World Cup was in 1982, and it was down to that 3-1 win here in Budapest primarily. And
this is, you and I, Dean, were on Game Day Countdown together last night, and that's why I was saying we need to just put a bit more respect on Gareth Southgate's name. I grew up at a time when England didn't qualify for World Cups. The World Cup win was before I was born, and I grew up at a time when we just didn't get to World Cup finals. So to scrape through, as Jim described, to the 1982 World Cup, where we actually did okay, that was something very, very new and different for a lot of people. I was already a teenager by then, so growing up, I had a hard time as an England fan. These are golden times right now, aren't they?
Oh, they are, yeah. I mean, I remember us not qualifying for 1994 World Cup under Graham Taylor, and it was devastating to watch that World Cup and England not be a part of it. And people might not realise it now, but Gareth and the team have produced already memories that will last a lifetime, that'll in years to come, friends will remember those moments, where they were when England played Italy in the final of the Euros, where they were when we watched Trippier score that goal in the World Cup semi-final. They're incredible memories. Watching England is why I became a footballer. I watched Gary Lineker on the knee and down onto his left foot, smashing it through the legs of the German defender into the corner. That's to me, that moment meant I want to be a footballer. I have to be a footballer watching that. And it was just, the World Cup's so special, and the Euros. So you're right, we should show Gareth a respect and understand how hard actually it is to get to where they've got to, not only once but twice, and possibly now we think 3 times.
And obviously we failed to qualify for the 2008 European Championships as well, but we have, under Gareth and under his predecessors as well, to be fair, you just take advantage of the fact now that England are guaranteed to qualify for tournaments. So that's how it feels. There's no guarantee, as Italy have proven, but it feels as though that England are bound to be there. You look at the groups, there's no real jeopardy in these groups, and England get the job done, but they've still got to get the job done, and they don't get the credit they deserve for being able to pull that off and getting there every 2 years.
They've got a Nations League job to do live on TalkSport this afternoon. We're 10 minutes away from kick-off. Hungary taking on England.
You're watching the race, but the only horse that matters is your horse. Making a break up the inside, pushing for position, and beaten right at the finishing post. At Coral, you get a free bet back if your horse finishes within a length of the winner. Beaten by a length. Available on selected races every day. Coral, get closer to the action. 18 plus online and retail with Connect Card applies to first real money single win or each way bet of £1 plus. £10 max free bet applies to selected races. Full terms and restrictions at coral.co.uk. Take time to think.
Hi, I'm Alan Brazil.
And I'm Ray Parlour.
And we're taking our new live stage show on the road,
sponsored by Arnold Clark. Join us for an evening of fun and laughter with tales from the studio, from the dressing rooms, and of course, Cheltenham.
TalkSport's Alan Brazil and Ray Parlour will be live in Newcastle and Nottingham. Get your tickets now from talksport.com/events.
That's him, Ray Parlour.
And him, Alan Brazil.
We'll see you there.
Good morning, aviators.
Top Gun Maverick is the #1 movie in the world. Critics are calling it the ultimate feel-good movie of the decade.
Damn right.
Thunderously enjoyable. Total film, 5 stars.
Let's turn and burn.
Absurdly exciting. The Telegraph, 5 stars.
No turning back now.
See it on the biggest screen possible. The Times.
We're going into combat on a level no living pilot's ever seen.
Tom Cruise.
Having any fun yet?
Top Gun Maverick, exclusively in cinemas now. Sir 12A.
Feel the passion. Feel the pride.
What a finish!
The Nations League on TalkSport.
Back live in Budapest on TalkSport ahead of Hungary against England in the Nations League. We are getting ready. The flags of both countries are out on the pitch, in between a sign simply saying peace, white letters on a blue background, and the mascots standing, young kids standing just behind. Talking to young children, there's 3 tiers around this red bowl of a stadium. The top tier is empty. The middle tier and the lower tier have lots of empty seats, but there's kids. I think it was 10 kids per 1 adult allowed in here today, and there's well over 30,000 who are attending this game, which theoretically should have been behind closed doors. However, we'll see what happens once the game gets underway and the noise that's made. The vuvuzelas have been out. There has been a lot of high-pitched squealing, which you'd expect with a lot of kids at the game. It's a very different atmosphere to what England players will be used to. In fact, they're more used to playing behind closed doors, having done that during the pandemic. So this will be a very strange atmosphere for them. We'll see how they cope with that. The pitch is bathed in shade right now. There's an oval of sunshine on the stand opposite us, our commentary position, which is the sun coming through the oval-shaped roof above us. Equal game, it says, and respect. A UEFA banner opposite us, draped across the main stand, the top tier just dropping down to the middle tier as well. Let's see if respect is shown. It should be shown here today. In terms of the game itself, Dean Ashton, Nations League. How seriously does Gareth Southgate take this game?
Gareth understands that he is under pressure every single time he puts his team out for England. He knows that. England are an incredibly difficult team to beat. They are. He's shown that with his record. You know, the amount of games that they've been unbeaten. If you discount, obviously, Italy, which I do count as a game that they've lost. But they're on such a good run. They're hard to beat. He takes every game very seriously because he knows if he doesn't, then he'll get it in the net straight away. And therefore, when I look at this lineup, I see a real team that can go and win the game, but also he's giving players an opportunity, and he's having a look at a few other players, and that's what he's got to do, I'm afraid, with such little amount of time between these games. He still knows how important it is to win every game, but at the same time he's got to manage this squad after a long, hard season.
4 games in 11 days, 6 before the World Cup squad is announced, and then they're off to Qatar in November for that World Cup and that opening game against Iran. You've had reservations, I've had reservations. I think sometimes England have looked really flat playing 3 at the back. I always feel more comfortable when they're playing with 2 centre-halves. So does this tell you that he's actually planning to go 3 centre-halves at the World Cup then? This is it?
It feels like that way. Yeah, it does. And he's been successful with it, so you can see why he wouldn't want to change it. And again, I'd go back to, they're hard to beat, and it's part of the reason why. I think today, the wide areas is where it's going to be crucial. Hungary will be really tight in the middle of the park. It's the 2 wing-backs against the 2 wing-backs. Who's going to come out on top? I think that will decide this game.
As the officials lead out the 2 teams, Harry Kane leading out England. He's got his pennant that he's going to be giving to his opposition captain in just a few moments' time, and they line up behind the mascots facing us here in the Ferenc Puskás Arena ahead of this Nations League opener for both Hungary and England. And they're preparing to do battle. Hungary in their red shirts, white shorts and green socks. England will be taking off their tops very shortly, and we'll see what they're wearing underneath. But it is time now to respect the national anthems.
Please rise for the national anthem of England.
Respectfully observed by the kids. Round of applause after that. Full respect so far. That's a big noise for a lot of kids. Nicely done. So let's get on with the game. It's been an incredibly patriotic time back home. So as the Nations League campaign gets underway, it's over to you, England. Do your very best for Queen and country. Hungary against England, live on TalkSport with former England striker Dean Ashton, alongside your commentator Jim Proudfoot.
Thank you, Adrian. Welcome to Budapest. A hot late afternoon under azure skies in such stark contrast to the cool damp morning. And welcome to the Puskás Arena in the east of the capital, named after the greatest Hungarian player of them all, the inspiration behind the magnificent Magyars of 70 years ago, the man who scored twice for Hungary in both their 6-3 Wembley success and the 7-1 thrashing of the Three Lions in this city later that season. A short-lived golden era saw them earn the epithet of the best team never to win the World Cup. These days, they just crave a return to the biggest stage, one that they haven't graced since the 80s. But they are on the way up, as witnessed by their Nations League history. In League C at the competition's inauguration, they've claimed successive promotions to earn themselves a place within the elite band, and they came within 5 minutes of emerging unscathed from the Euros group of death. However, for all of that, the world rankings would suggest they're much the weakest of the teams in England's Nations League group, and they succumb to a 4-0 defeat to the Three Lions here in Budapest back in September, at the start of this international season. Well, today the teams line up: England with Pickford in goal, Walker, Cody and Maguire, Alexander-Arnold, Bellingham, Rice and Justin, Bowen, Kane and Mount, and the England bench: Trippier, Stones, James, Ward-Prowse, Gallagher, Phillips, Grealish, Sterling, Saka, Abraham, and the keepers are Pope and Ramsdale. Hungary, Galatsi in goal, Long, Orban and Saloy, Nego, Adam Noj, Schaefer and Zsoltnoj, Shaloi, Salai and Soboslai. The referee is the Portuguese official Artur Dias. He's called the players to order around the edge of the centre circle, because before kick-off there'll be a minute's tribute to Isman Shurka, who featured for Hungary in the late 60s and early 70s, and who played for the Magyars in the 1972 European Championship. He passed away earlier this month and will be remembered here in Budapest now.
A kiváló szélsőjobb Ferencvárosban 310 mérkőzésen 102 gólt szerzett. Az ötvenhét játékosabb kétszer bajnoki címen és kétszer bajnoki esztársaságban. 1960-ban szerzett a társaságban. 1974-1976 voláros címén dolgozott, majd 2 esztendőben a publikációja. Szőke István az MLS saját hallgatának tekintő.
Tribute to the former Hungarian international István Shurka. England white shirts, dark blue shorts and white socks will get us underway, kicking from right to left in this first half. Hungary in their customary red shirts and white shorts. The England players will take the knee very shortly, and it will be interesting to hear the reaction from the crowd of Hungarian children when they do so. The referee and those England players do that now. Not much you can say about that, unfortunately. The first competitive games of World Cup year, but the real start of the preparation for the winter ahead. Just 6 matches now between now and the squad being announced. The Nations League campaign, a competition that has already proved very profitable for England, but is also a means to an end. England kicking from right to left in the first half. Ball out of play for a throw that will be taken over on the England right-hand side by Trent Alexander-Arnold. Alongside me here in Budapest is the former England striker Dean Ashton.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, it's debut for Jarrod Bowen and James Justin. What a moment for them. But as soon as that whistle goes, you're into player mode, you're into focus mode. And James Justin in particular, along with Trent Alexander-Arnold, are going to be key to get through this stubborn Ukrainian defence. In the Euros, they were brilliant against France and Portugal and denied both of those nations space and time. And it'll be the same for England. So we've got to move it quickly, and it's when they switch the ball, can our wing-backs make the most of their talents?
Well, Alexander-Arnold has just conjured up a lovely ball with the top of the right boot, swung from the right-hand side out to the left for James Justin. And Gareth Southgate talking before the game about the movement of Alexander on the right-hand side as Justin's flagged offside here. Talking about the fact that he likes Jarrod Bowen to hold the width on the right. That will allow Alexander-Arnold the opportunity to make the same kind of runs that we've seen him make latterly for Liverpool. Diagonal runs from right wing back into a more midfield central position. In doing so, England will then have Bowen on the right, and Justin will be given different instructions on the left-hand side, whilst Alexander-Arnold is able to make those runs and combine and become an extra body in midfield. Hungary get it forward. Alexander-Arnold on defensive duty, just able to head the ball away. Stabbed down through the midfield. England have lost it, and a chance for Shaloi to bring it forward here towards the edge of the penalty area. And Pickford just saw the ball come out of his grasp for a moment, but he was able to gather at the second attempt and make a save on the edge of the 6-yard box and bowl it out quickly for Alexander-Arnold to work it forward here for Harry Kane. Kane, who's just one goal short of 50 for his country. It's a milestone that he can reach today in his 70th appearance. And Harry being Harry will have looked at the 4 games that are coming up over the next 11 days, and will look not just at reaching the half-century but also breaking Wayne Rooney's record. He's 4 short of that at the moment, but there's a feeling of inevitability that he'll get there, but he wants to get there sooner rather than later, rather than hanging over his shoulders. Ball played forward here by Cody, and laid off through the midfield. Bellingham has done well, and he can work it down to Mason Mount. Justin again made an early run forward, got himself back onside, trying to receive possession. Just felt as though he was fouled there by Shalai, but he's able to bring it forward. Well won back though by a combination of Bellingham and Justin, and a clever reverse ball from Mount. And Kane's going to get there, left-hand side of the penalty area. Bowen peels away out towards the far post, and Kane opened up the body and went for the top right-hand corner, but put it wide. 0-0 on TalkSport between Hungary and England.
Yeah, well, he lost the ball initially, James Justin. He'd made that run a little bit too early, and then recovered well. And when we turned over possession, Mount with a clever little pass, reverse pass into Kane down the left-hand side. There was no way he was going to pass that. Once he cut in onto that right foot, he was only going to try and find that far corner.
Hungary able to bring it forward, and Conor Cody, who's playing in the middle of the 3 centre-halves, just sweeping up as it was played long for Shaloi, just coming in off the right flank. Player who tested Jordan Pickford a couple of minutes ago. Pickford's able to bowl it out. They'll find Kyle Walker. Walker now to Cody again. Cody down towards Harry Maguire on the left of England's 3 centre-halves. 43rd cap for his country today. Declan Rice mopping up in the midfield. Back for Walker. England dominating the early possession, and Hungary will be more than happy to play on the counter-attack. Rice lays it back for Walker again. Walker to Cody. I think a lot will be made of the reaction to the England players taking the knee. Remember, this is a match that is, in inverted commas, being played behind closed doors. School children have been invited. For every 10 school children, there is an adult in attendance as Bowen tries to make his way through inside the penalty area. He's crowded out of it, and his appeals for a penalty are very optimistic ones. But the fact that the taking of the knee was booed suggests a much deeper institutional problem, really.
Yeah. Horrible to hear, wasn't it?
Galadze on the edge of the 6-yard box. Plays it long and over the head of Salai, and straight through for Jordan Pickford again. And Pickford playing it to Maguire. England playing with not the highest of defensive lines in these early stages. They're about 20 yards or so inside their own half. But it's interesting that they are going with a back three, because when England played against Hungary here back in September and then in October at Wembley, it was very much a back four on both of those occasions. Defensive header has got the goalkeeper scrambling, and Nego has turned it back behind the dead ball line, and now to play for a corner, the first of the game, which will be taken by England. And worth pointing out as well, whilst just one final footnote for now about the booing of the taking of the knee, that in Loic Nego, the Hungarian defender, is black, so they're also booing their own. Alexander-Arnold will come across to take the corner on the England left-hand side. He's got Bowen near the corner of the penalty area, showing for a short one. England have got 3 inside the 6-yard box ready to attack this. Kane and Maguire are that little bit deeper, but they're 2 against 2 against Hungarian defenders as it swung in there just too deep for Maguire, who actually in the end was well marshalled by Long, and it goes out of play, and it's going to be a goal kick which will be taken by Hungary away to our left-hand side. 7 gone on TalkSport. It's Hungary 0, England 0, and alongside me, Jim Bradford, is Dean Ashton.
Well, I know they take set pieces very seriously. They'll do a lot of work on it. You could see that that was set up for some kind of routine with 3 players in and around the goalkeeper, and then Harry Kane and Maguire separate to those near the penalty spot. But whatever they had worked on, if the delivery's not right, it's pointless anyway. And Trent Alexander-Arnold just put too much on that, went all the way through.
England much better here in Budapest than they were when the two sides met at Wembley just a few weeks later. A 1-1 draw there, although the Hungarians who were speaking to about that earlier, taxi drivers admitted that it was an extremely fortuitous 1-1 draw, and he wasn't expecting anything like the same level of performance from his country's team today. England had won 4-0 here back at the start of the season with goals from Sterling, Kane, Maguire and Rice. It was John Stones that had equalised for England in the last meeting after a slide penalty midway through the first half had given the Hungarians the lead. England unbeaten in their last 15 matches against Hungary. The Hungarians have possession. Peter Gulacsi, the one-time Liverpool goalkeeper who had a couple of loan spells at the likes of Tranmere and Hereford, and was on the books of Hull for a bit as well. He gets it clear, and he goes out of play after an England deflection for a throw that will be taken on the Hungarian right-hand side. Not being played at a great tempo at the moment, but you'd understand that because, as we've mentioned, it is a very warm night here in Hungary. And Hungary wins the corner as it's blocked by Shaloy.
Yeah, good combination. Harry Kane and Jared Bowen. Brilliant vision from Harry Kane. Just had a quick look over his shoulder to see where Bowen was, and then a little deft header just in behind the centre-back for Bowen to run onto. Chested it down. Brilliant defending by Zaloy to come across and block. Otherwise, that really would have tested the goalkeeper as Bowen hit it in towards the ground to skip it off the surface.
And a short start to his England debut so far, Jared Bowen. As Alexander-Arnold takes this latest corner in towards the edge of the 6-yard box. It was a Hungarian defensive header that got it away. And it goes out of play for an England throw over on the far touchline, which is their right. And Mason Mount will go across to take it, although Alexander-Arnold, I think, might end up taking the responsibility. He actually just runs into space and shows us an option for Walker. Walker throws it back for Trent Alexander-Arnold now. Alexander-Arnold, who's only featured in 4 of England's last 21 games since the start of last year. Walker making his way forward. It's a lovely cushion layoff from him. Bowen, blonde hair, glinting in the sun, plays it back here for Rice. Rice down to Harry Maguire, making his way forward. England's most prolific defender of all time. Little layoff for Justin, now towards Kane. Second most prolific English striker of all time. And he's worked it out towards Alexander-Arnold, in towards Bowen. A little hitch kick from him, didn't really get hold of it under pressure. And has ended up making contact, clean contact, but didn't get the power in it. And it's safely into the hands of the Hungarian goalkeeper Gulacsi, with 10 gone at 0-0.
No surprise, 2 bits of real quality in that move. Harry Kane with the vision and execution over to Alexander-Arnold, and then Alexander-Arnold's half volley cross in towards Bowen. And he was just too scrunched up in his body, Bowen, He wanted to side volley that with his right foot, and it was just at the awkward height. And his knee was too close to his chest in the end. Couldn't get the right contact on it.
He did score 18 goals for West Ham this season, Jared Bowen, as Nago plays it inside the area awkwardly. It's going to be cleared off the line by Cody. And Pickford was far from happy at the amount of space that Nago had on the right. He fired it inside the penalty area. Soboslai got there first, but Pickford did well. He came out and narrowed the angle very quickly. All Soboslai could do is just tap it past him, and he didn't have the weight, so Cody could come in behind and get it away. Cleared it from just in front of the line and out of play. But that was a warning shot across the bows as far as England were concerned.
Well, he should score, shouldn't he? Soboslai. I just think with Pickford really darting out and throwing himself at the feet of the attacker, just put him off enough that he didn't get the right contact on it. But what a brilliant first-time volleyed cross from Nago into that area. It was brilliant because it was switched across to him from quite a distance, and first time across, really difficult to defend against.
I love it. Nago, who's on the books of Charlton at one stage in his career, and now Soboslai's got it right hand side of the penalty area. Nago made a run outside him and is going to be able to pick it up. He got himself back on side, he pulls it back, but Mount read it, and then Justin can clear. So too Maguire from the edge of his own penalty area, and Kane has bought a free kick there off Willie Orban. A free kick that England will take about 15 yards inside their own penalty area. A couple of sights of goal for England in the opening 12 minutes, but clearly the best opportunity of the game falling for Soboslai just a minute or so ago.
Well, that'll bother Southgate just because of, two passes, and, Soboslai is in on Pickford 1v1 with a chance to score. I mean, that'll bother him, that's for sure. But I've got to say, the quality of Nago's first time volleyed cross, sometimes you just got to go, that's just outstanding and almost impossible to defend against, because they wouldn't have expected that first time cross.
Soboslai, probably the star of this Hungarian team. He's only 21. Player that netted against Manchester City in the Champions League this season for Leipzig, one of 10 goals that he scored. He missed the Euros through injury. A few Hungarian supporters will tell you that might ultimately have made the difference in them getting out of that horrible group or not. Bearing in mind they came within 5 minutes of doing so. Beaten by Portugal, they drew with France and then drew with Germany, but didn't get through. Mason Mount's got it on the England left. It's 0-0 here on TalkSport as it's played forward. Bowen was claiming that he was being manhandled there, but the free kick's gone the other way. He was backing into Saloy. And it's a free kick which will be taken by the Hungarians at the heart of their back line. Keep you up to date with what's going on in the cricket. England are fighting hard to win the first test, but plenty of work to do, although there is a 50-run partnership between Root and Stokes. England chasing 277 or 123 for 4. We will, as I say, keep you updated with everything that is going on there. This is the first of the 4 Nations League games are taking place over the next 11 days. We've got them all covered for you here on TalkSport, including the one in Munich in 3 days' time on Tuesday night. Soboslai's got it again on the left-hand side. It's whipped in. Clear before he got to Salai. Nago, who supplied that brilliant delivery a few moments ago, just a little bit too much on it for Soboslai. Did really well to hook his right foot around it before it went out of play for a goal kick. Couldn't get the power in the cross, and Maguire can get it away. Brought down, though, intelligently in the midfield by Schaefer, and he'll take it on and away from Maguire. Right-hand side of the penalty area. He's got 4 in there to try and hit. He's got Nago in support as well. He's pulled it back for Nago. He can't get a cross in at the first time of asking, but Schaefer can take over and lay it back here for Adam Nodge, the former Bristol City man. Square through the midfield from him. Down towards Nago again. Another right-footed swinging delivery coming in, and Alexander Arnold was just caught on his heels for a moment. Zoltan Nodge coming in from behind him. I don't think Alexander Arnold appreciated that he was there, and he was just waiting for the ball to come so he could deal with it, and then didn't get the opportunity. No harm done, though, for England, and it remains 0-0 with 15 minutes gone.
No, but they made really bright start, the 2 wing-backs, Zoltan Nodge and Nago. making it very difficult for James Justin and Alexander Arnold. And you're right, Alexander Arnold was sleeping. If he'd have just been another step ahead there, Zoltnodge, he'd have been in, and Alexander Arnold wouldn't have noticed him running in behind him. And Justin just needs a little bit of help over that side, whether it's Declan Rice coming across or Mason Mount.
Here's Bowen heading it on into space, and he's going to occupy that space first. He's got Kane in immediate support. Bowen keeps the ball and wins another corner. That was excellent play from the West Ham man. Took a touch, came back outside the penalty area and wrapped a left-footed cross which hit long and goes out of play for England's third corner, 0-0.
What I liked about that was that clearly, because Nago and Zoltnodge were so high up the pitch, Mason Mount then went and joined Jared Bowen and Kane to make a 3v3, and they just played it long straight to them. Good combination with a flick on from Kane, and Bowen again was in. In the end, it was good defending, but just recognising that once their wing backs are nice and high, that you can go a little bit longer, quicker, was good from England.
So Alexander Arnold will come across to take this corner, as he has done the previous two. And it's going to be another right-footed in-swinging delivery. The best of the three, but headed over the bar. And a presentable opportunity for Connor Cody, who just ran his hands through his hair as he turned away. He knew that was a chance. Good delivery from Alexander Arnold, the best of those set pieces so far. Just a fraction behind Cody, and he couldn't keep his header down.
Yeah, a super delivery from Alexander Arnold. So difficult for the goalkeeper to know whether he can come for that. And actually, I really like that movement from one player to be almost stood on the goalkeeper and then just make that little 2 or 3 yard dart away from goal to free yourself up. And Cody, it was a free header.
And now Kane has won it back as Hungary try and play out from the back. Bellingham, back for Kane again. Kane on the stretch, able to feed Mount, back for Justin. Intelligent ball in field from him for Kane. Kane back for Justin again. Left-footed cross across the edge of the 6-yard box. Just evaded the stretching Bowen and goes into the hands of Galachi. Better from England, who haven't been great in the opening 15-18 minutes or so, but they've stepped it up in the last couple.
Yeah, they have done, and they're given licence, Alexander Arnold, and I'm sure James Justin, that when we've got good possession, and if you're, Mount or Bowen is wide, go and make that run inside those two attackers to go and then support Kane. It was a great reverse pass from Kane, and in the end just couldn't quite wrap his left foot around it, Justin.
Well, good news is that Laura Woods is back from Monaco, and she is reunited with Rangers legend Ali McCoist on Monday. Former Wales and Liverpool striker Dean Saunders will have plenty to say as well. Wales in action in that massive game against Ukraine tomorrow. Will they be at the World Cup by the time Dean joins them on Monday morning? His reaction, good or bad, will be with you on TalkSport's Breakfast Show on Monday with Ali McCoist and Laura Woods. 0-0 the score here as Kane makes a very intelligent run out towards the right-hand side and has got space. Little deflection on the cross. Mount, as it sat up a little bit awkwardly for him, and just couldn't get the power in the header or the direction come to that, and it just turned away. But England now beginning to be able to make hay down the flanks, and it's well won back by Rice, who gets there ahead of Nodge. And this early Hungarian storm just seems to have blown itself out a little. Alexander Arnold's got it again. Back for Rice in his own half of the centre circle. Forward to Bellingham, who couldn't take it on the stretch. Hungary get it back and play down towards Adam Long, who plays his club football in Cyprus with Ammonia, another player that didn't feature in the Euros but has played quite extensively since. And England win a throw which will be taken just in front of the Hungarian dugout. Somebody came out of the dugout there and whacked the ball. It goes out for it's now been retrieved. Haven't gone out of play for a throw which Justin will be able to take. We've played 20 minutes. All the pitch covered in shadow now as Walker brings it forward.
Just looking at that midfield area, Bellingham's been quite quiet. Rice has had a few moments, but they're really packed that area. Almost 5 players, the 3 forwards for Hungary, and then the 2 midfield players really pack that area out.
Mount gets the better of Long. Play forward by Kane, who's a shove off the ball there. Schaefer is the guilty party and is going to get a yellow card as Justin had made a marauding run And Schaefer brings him down to give England a free kick. 3 yards outside the penalty area and about 6 yards infield from the left-hand side of the box. It's a promising position for Kane.
Intelligent running off the ball from James Justin. Again, not content just to have played the pass and let Kane get on with it. Ran beyond him. Forced Schaefer into a decision. Either let him go or bring him down outside the area. He did the latter, and naturally Alexander-Arnold has gone across. You would expect him to take charge here, whether it is a shooting opportunity or whether he's looking to play it in. I would expect himself to back the fact that he can hit the target from here.
So one Liverpool player taking on a former Liverpool player. Galatsi asking for 3 in his wall. 3 players standing over this for England now. Mount peels away. Bowen raises his left hand. He strikes it towards the far post, but it's away from Maguire and straight out of play for a goal kick. It's a frustrating overhit set piece that from Jarrod Bowen.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Just, it wasn't that far out not to have had a shot. I would have had a shot, I think, or whoever was in the team to take a free kick should be taking that on and then running in on the goalkeeper. That was just a waste.
This Hungarian side have only lost 1 of the last 5 matches, so they've won 3 of the most recent 4. The solitary defeat in their last home game, actually, which came against Serbia in a friendly in March. But they did win in Poland at the end of their World Cup qualifying campaign, and they won in Northern Ireland last time out. They got possession here. Bellingham fouled his man. Referees played the advantage. And Nago down towards the right-hand side for Shaloi. And Shaloi drops his shoulder, takes on Justin on the outside, but Cody's across to sweep up again. And he just watched the run of Adam Salai in behind him, and he goes out of play for a throw, which will be taken on the right-hand side by Hungary. It's 0-0 here on TalkSport midway through the first half.
Shaloy's got a real turn of pace over the first 3 or 4 yards, just to allow himself to get away from defenders or to get the cross in. He's well defended by England, but they've just got a problem at the moment, just with Soboslai and Shaloi just picking up those positions either side of Rice and Bellingham, but not so far forward that Maguire and Walker can step out. So they're then able to play that ball into them. They're able to turn and get England's back 3.
Yeah, it's a 3-4-2-1 formation, really, that they're utilising. Playing quite narrow most of the time, but happy to drift out into wider positions, particularly Shaloi. And Nago wins Hungary's first corner here, firing it in off James Justin. And a bit of work for Jordan Pickford and co to do. Pickford, who's only conceded 5 goals in his last 13 England games, and going back further than that, 14 clean sheets in his last 22 matches. A run which saw him at one stage break the England all-time record and go 725 minutes, 12 hours plus, without conceding. In comes the corner from Soboslai. It's flicked on, but not effectively. And it should be relatively easily cleared down the England left. It is. Nago has been able to stop it going out of play for a throw. And Soboslai plays it forward again into the big frame of the giant number 9, Shalai. But England win it back, and Walker does very well to steer one into space up the inside right channel for Alexander-Arnold. He turns and finds Kane just inside his own half. Kane is then able to turn himself and spear a long diagonal over the top. Justin is so willing to make those runs forward, and he picks it up down by the corner flag, nudges it intelligently inside the penalty area for Mount. Kane offers himself in support. Mount will turn back the other way. Kane's outside the box, but there are 3 in white in there. As Mount tries to drive it in, it's very effectively blocked and goes out of play for a throw that will be taken on the England left-hand side. And Justin just for a moment goes down. Hopefully he's going to be okay. I thought for a moment he was just adjusting his socks or maybe his boot, but it looks a little bit more serious than that. And the England medical staff will come on to attend to it.
I hadn't noticed particularly an incident that made me think there was a problem, but clearly there is. You really hope that it's not anything too serious on your England debut. Let's hope it's not, but just by the looks of things, they're testing that hamstring maybe, or the calf.
Yeah, he was sitting down, and he was told by the medical staff to lie down just so that his right-hand side of his body could be fully inspected and tested. Everything stretched off, and he will have to leave the field of play, having received that treatment, obviously, but no immediate signs that England are going to have to make a change. The England bench, incidentally, today: Trippier, Stones and James are the defensive cover. Ward-Prowse, Gallagher, Phillips, and then Grealish, Sterling, Saka and Abraham, the more attack-minded players, with Pope and Ramsdale as the substitute goalkeepers. As I mentioned, this is the first of 4 Nations League games. The return match between these two is only 10 days from now at Molineux on the 14th, and it's live for you on TalkSport between now and then. England go to Munich on Tuesday, and we'll be at the Allianz Arena for you. And then a week today, it's England at home to Italy in Wolverhampton, and that one live for you on TalkSport as well. The 2 concluding Nations League games also live: Italy away, Germany at home, and those will take place in September, and will also be live on TalkSport ahead of the World Cup, and you won't miss a single kick of that event. Justin's back on the field. Play has restarted. Mount has just been unable to find Justin from close quarters, and it goes out of play for a throw that will be taken on the Hungarian right-hand side. Not too many chances. Soboslai squandering the best of them. Cody clearing off the line, and it's still 0-0 on TalkSport.
Yeah, it's yet to reach any sort of tempo, has it, the game? You know, you talked about the heat. It's stifling in here as Harry Kane goes chasing across again. Winning work rate from him. But they just haven't quite... It's been almost at the moment for England. You know, almost through. That pass was almost just right. Just lacking that little bit of quality at the moment, right when it matters for England. But under Gareth, they are very patient. They'll keep the ball for long periods if the opposition want to sit there and defend, which is exactly what Hungary are doing. And it's about being patient against teams like this.
It is a formula that has served England well. Unbeaten in 22 coming into this game. And that is an all-time record. The last defeat that England had was in Belgium in November 2020. Bellingham working through the midfield for Trent Alexander-Arnold. Runners ahead of him. And James Justin, the deepest of them, will pick it up again down by the corner flag. Mount trying to make something of it. Nego's going to be able to just calmly get it out of harm's way, and then Long will play it up the touchline over the head of Harry Maguire. Saloy comes to meet it and has controlled it very neatly there. Soboslai. Now Saloy. Saloy inside the centre circle and work round the back of Trent Alexander-Arnold for the run of the fullback Nodge, and Pickford beats his shot away. Diving to his left-hand side, got his hands behind it, goes out of play for a corner, but that was all too easy with a quick switch of play, leaving England very exposed on their right flank.
Well, you talked about Alexander-Arnold's positioning earlier, that he's allowed that licence to really drift into the midfield area. The problem is, when they get possession very quickly, as they have done a couple of times, is they can just play that ball straight into that area. Now, Kyle Walker's got to be more switched on, I feel. He's got to speak to his midfield players to drop, so he then can go across and cover that. That was too easy and too much space between Alexander-Arnold and Walker for that pass to go to Zsolt Nodge to take that strike, which Pickford dealt with comfortably.
And has given Hungary a second corner. I'll come back to that point that you've made there in just a moment. The corner can't be taken yet because the referee has just told them to wait. He's having a word with Soboslai, who's involved in the grappling inside the penalty area. But now it can be taken. Right-footed, swept in towards the edge of the 6-yard box. It was Kane, the free man, that headed it away. And as it comes back out, Soboslai draws an offside flag. Must have taken a touch before he got to Harry Kane. And flicked away to catch Soboslai back offside. Half an hour gone, 0-0. Just going back to that point you were making. So, who is at fault? Was it Alexander-Arnold or was it Walker who was more culpable for the space, or just a combination of the pair of them?
Well, I think if Alexander-Arnold's allowed that licence to go and drift like he is now, he's inside Kyle Walker in terms of his positioning on the pitch, and therefore Kyle Walker's got to know that. Now, the problem they've got is, I talked about Szoboszlai and Szalai picking up those positions either side of our midfield players. Well, Kyle Walker got drawn out of position, and then all of a sudden there's that massive hole in behind Alexander Arnold. Personally, I think Walker's got to hold that position more and make sure he knows he's covering that space that Alexander Arnold's naturally going to leave with the position that he's taking up. So, for me, it's Kyle Walker's job, that.
Harry Kane's drifted away into the left wing-back position for a moment now for England. In his yellow boots, his 70th cap for his country today. Hoping for his 50th goal. Played in towards Bowen. Bowen back for Rice. Out to Walker, who's made a more adventurous run from that position on the right of the three centre-halves. He goes back for Rice, and it goes out to Walker again. Kane all of a sudden finds himself as the right wing-back, having certainly put in a shift in the opening half hour here in these sultry conditions. Down it comes for Harry Maguire once more. Maguire inside the centre circle for Rice. Controls it, takes a touch, flicks it away from Szalai. Back to Cody. Cody to Bowen. Bowen playing his back for the direction of play, just trying to nudge it back. Goalkeeper off his line. Pickford sees it drift over his shoulder and wide. It was an inspirational attempt from Szalai. He was inside the centre circle. And he knows that Pickford's got this advanced starting position. And as soon as it came to him, he tried his luck. It bounced once, and he wrapped his right foot underneath it. And Pickford was beaten all ends up, and it sailed about a foot wide. That's a massive level.
Oh, it was a special attempt, wasn't it, from Adam Szalai. Brilliant vision, you're right. He clearly spotted Pickford's positioning throughout the game. Brilliant attempt. The problem is, rather than pinging it, he's curled it, so it's drifted away from the goal and then skidded and spun away from the net. That would have been some goal.
Reminiscent of goals that we've seen in the past from the likes of Beckham and Rooney and Charlie Adam as well. He was actually inside the England half, but not much in it, and he didn't miss by much. England will bring it forward again. Hungary have had the better chances. It's 0-0. England on the right-hand side of the penalty area, and Long is able to just poke it away as Bowen had made an excellent run, but played it in behind Kane, and it's poked clear by Long and out of play for an England throw. 33 minutes gone, and it's Hungary 0, England 0. Rice back for Conor Cody inside the centre circle, and out of Declan Rice again. Kane just leading the line, moving across to the right, trying to find a little bit of space in between the two centre halves who aren't giving him any space either side really. So it's interesting when Kane just drops into those deeper positions that we've been talking about, and finding himself at left wing back and right wing back in previous phases of play. They don't tend to go with him as some defensive units would. They just pass him on. Bellingham on the edge of the centre circle. Back for Conor Cody again. Cody is winning just his 10th cap today. And now Bellingham will try and drive forward, and he's been caught and just wraps his right leg around Szalai. Was determined not to allow him free possession there. No yellow card, but there is a free kick which Hungary will take about 4 yards inside their own half. 0-0 with 11 to go to half-time here on TalkSport. Dean Ashton.
He's found it tough going, Jude Bellingham, in that position because of the positioning of the Hungarian attackers. He's constantly having to check his shoulder where Szoboszlai is, and then also looking ahead of him as well. Got caught in possession a couple of times in that area. I've got to say, I know he can play that position. I much prefer him when there's a holding midfield player and he can then be more advanced with a little bit more freedom to get forward. He looks a little bit stifled at the moment in that position and not quite sure of his role.
Forget that he's only 18. I mean, he's got so many miles on the clock for an 18-year-old. He's played 90 games for Dortmund over the last couple of years. He's still only 18. It's his 13th cap for his country today as he makes his 5th start. So he's got more caps behind him than Cody, who's in possession here. Finds Walker. Walker out towards Alexander Arnold, who curves it back inside his own penalty area. Maguire is able to pick it up for England. It's 0-0 with 10 minutes to go to half-time. So the balance of the midfield, when you're playing a back three, and it does look as though 3-4-3 or 3-4-2-1 is the England way, you would imagine, for the foreseeable future. Would you want Rice alongside Phillips and then Bellingham in a more advanced role, or would you just want Rice and Bellingham to play together, but Bellingham to have a more advanced starting position and leave more of the defensive duties to Rice?
My own personal opinion is to play with a 4-3-3. That's my personal opinion, and I think that would free up Bellingham to play more advanced. That's not how Southgate's going to go.
Walker heads it back. Salai has it, and Salai will bring it forward through the midfield. Soboslai makes the run one side of him, Shaloi the other. It's played wider still for Nego. Another good right-footed ball swung inside the penalty area, coming in at the far post. It was flicked down into the ground by Soboslai, but Pickford was able to pick it up. But their quality from wide positions has been excellent on the counter-attack, particularly Loic Nego, who has produced a couple of sublime crosses that have turned the England back line, but been into that dangerous no-man's land that Pickford can't come out and attack.
But what they've done so well, Hungary, is because they're playing a back three, all of a sudden it can be a back five with the two wing-backs when they're nice and deep, and then they allow those wing-backs to go. But because they've got three forwards, it's all of a sudden it's 5 against our 3 at times. It's giving England a real problem at the moment, and the middle of the park as Harry Maguire goes on a wander.
He takes it down towards the byline and ran out of room, but he has got the decision. Didn't look as though he's shepherding the ball out of play, but didn't wrap his left foot around it. Well, it's gone out of play for an England corner, and Alexander-Arnold will come across to take it.
Harry Beckenbauer, as he went forward there.
As he will henceforth be known.
Was that a step over I saw as well?
Either that or he lost his balance, one or the other, but listen, got a corner out of it, and Alexander-Arnold's coming across to take it. Possession for England at the moment is 63%, but Hungary have had the majority of shots, and England have only had one attempt on target, which was Bowen's miscue. Alexander-Arnold to take this. 3 around the edge of the 6-yard box, 2 making runs deeper, including Maguire, but the delivery was overhit. Too much whip, too much pace, and then has gone out of play for a goal kick. I think it's fair to say that this is a Nations League campaign that has started inauspiciously so far for England. Only inauspicious with a small I rather than a capital one, but they haven't been great. It has often been the way that performances that England have immediately after the end of the Premier League season have not been all that they might be. It must be difficult for the players when you have the long campaign, the league campaign stops, some of them, the likes of Trent, involved in the Champions League final, then you just have a few days off, and then you're coming back and you're hard at work again. It must be very difficult to be able to pick up that tempo instantly, and perhaps we've just seen that again here. It's not been sensational from England so far.
It's not, no. I mean, the heat is just, it's incredible inside this stadium, and it's difficult to really raise the tempo. I think they've not been terrible by any means. They've just lacked a little bit of sharpness, little edge to them, a little bit of quality. I'd be more worried defensively that tactically they've been better than us. That's probably the bigger worry for me, is tactically they look like they've got the upper hand, and hence why they've dominated really the chances that this game has.
Walker drives it forward, looking for Alexander-Arnold and finding him, but he can only find touch rather than Bowen with a flick. And he goes out of play for a throw that has been taken on the Hungarian left-hand side. In the 40th minute, and it's still 0-0. Cody sweeping up, Walker back to his goalkeeper, Pickford takes the touch. And talk about that 22-game unbeaten run that England are on. They've only conceded 6 goals in it, and only 10 in the last 32 games. They are a side for whom it's defensive solidity first. And there's been a recipe that has brought England a place in a major final and a World Cup semi-final as well. But that defensive security hasn't always been prevalent so far here in Budapest. Still goalless though. Cody looking long, finding Bowen, backpedaling, chesting it down. And he can come in field. So far it has been a better start to the Nations League campaign than either France or Belgium have mustered. So you have to put everything in perspective. France beaten at home by Denmark yesterday, and Belgium thrashed at home by the Netherlands. Walker. Back for Rice. And down towards the England left-hand side for debutant James Justin. Heritage number 1,270 he's got, and Bowen 1271. Up to 55 debutants under Gareth Southgate now, who has used 88 players as England manager in his 71 internationals. Another free kick. It's very stop-start at the moment. Another free kick has gone Hungary's way. And Orban just shows for a free kick taken behind square by Long. It's back for Willi Orban again, another one of the RB Leipzig players for whom he's made more than 200 appearances, including a Europa League semi-final and a cup victory this season. Back he comes from Nodge to Saloy.
I know it's just a small thing, but there's been a few opportunities where they've been able to play that pass in behind for Bowen or for Mount or Justin, and rather than it being really drilled out there at pace and flat so that they're ahead of the defender, it's got that bit of backspin and it loops and it gives the defender time to then get across. You know, it's that kind of performance where it's all a bit too slow. Not that Hungary have particularly been quick in the way that they've played.
Long. Back for Nago. They are a good counter-attacking side. They've been happy to allow England to have the possession and to try and turn it over. So when Hungary have phases of play where they've got the ball at their feet, as they have now, and not necessarily that dominant, all they will try and do is just make runs out into wide positions to try and get Soboslai or Salai in. Shalhoy's got it now. He goes back inside his own half for Long. Long bypasses Orban to find Saloy. And now to come forward again. Hungary in the midfield with Schaefer, who's the one player to have his name taken so far. Ben Stokes gets his half-century in the cricket. He's 53 not out, 157 for 4 England, chasing 277. They need another 120 to win, and we'll get the details from John Norman at half-time in this game, which is only 2 minutes away, and I would imagine there'll only be one additional minute to be played after the injury to James Justin, which hasn't proved a serious one. He's been able to continue unimpaired. Nago, the supplier of 2 superb crosses from the Hungarian right. Just lays it back for Schaefer. Schaefer towards halfway. Nodge. Now down to Saloy. They're only ever present in the World Cup qualifying campaign. Played out towards Jolt Nodge on the left-hand side. Schaefer is able to bring it further forward now. England just backing off. Orban. Shalhoy wearing 20, making his way towards the edge of the penalty area, and he injects a little bit of tempo, creates space for Nego. Deflection on his crossing, which is headed away by Cody, who immediately waves his fellow defenders out to try and push the Hungarians back in condensed play, and then Justin cleverly lets the ball drift over his head with a quick movement which deceived Nego, and he goes out of play for an England throw. The final minute of the first half, and it's still 0-0.
They've just been so good at drawing Rice out of that position. Harry Maguire doesn't want to step out to where Shalhoy is, and then James Justin ends up being overloaded 2v1, and Nago has then got the ability to put in dangerous crosses. I wonder whether he might look at changing the system at half-time, Gareth Southgate, because it's not worked, and they're finding it too easy to find the spare player.
Well, there's plenty to debate about how England have played so far, and you can do that after the game as we take your calls on 03717 223344. And also, we'll look back on this game and look ahead to Germany away on Monday as Drive comes with Dean and Adrian from Munich Monday night at the normal time, 4 till 7 on TalkSport. Looking ahead to Germany against England, a game that you can hear Tuesday night. And Dini Hamann will be joining Dino and Adrian as well on Monday. It's Drive from 4 till 7 Monday from Munich on TalkSport. Just the 1 minute to be added at the end of this first half. Hungary have got possession of the ball on the edge of their own penalty area. It's worked out towards the Hungarian left-hand side, where Nodge was very nearly caught in possession by Alexander-Arnold. England win it back with Bellingham flicking it, and Walker retraces his steps to be able to pick the ball up. He's worked it into the feet of Bowen, who's had a couple of nice moments. Back through the midfield for Rice. Rice put under pressure by the advancing Soberschlei. Play down towards Maguire, back for Cody, the deepest of the three centre-halves. Kane again drops deep in order to pick it up. He hasn't had a chance worthy of the name so far, Harry Kane. He had one sighter of goal in the very early stages. Kane's got it again now, and his is the last touch of the first half, and he had it between two of his centre-halves, which shows how deep he's having to come to try and influence proceedings. So the first 45 minutes of England's Nations League campaign. There will be better 45 minutes to come, it's fair to say. Half-time in Budapest. Hungary 0, England 0.
Jim, thanks very much. More reflections on this first half to come, but straight to a wicket at Lord's. John Norman.
And it's a big one, and truth be told, it's a strange old dismissal. It's Ben Stokes who's gone. Remember, he was given out, well, he was bowled from a no ball, went on one, and it was looking like that was going to pay. He, alongside Joe Root, putting on 90 for the fifth wicket. 118 still needed, but really putting pressure on the New Zealanders, who've seen Colin de Granholm go off injured, so they're bowler down. Cole Jamieson, who's been the best bowler today, though, well, this isn't a wicket-taking delivery, really. Short ball, Ben Stokes backs away, and then at the last minute, for some reason, he thinks, I can ramp this ball up over the slip cordon. It's the kind of shot that was never on, and essentially didn't get enough on it. He gloved the ball through to the keeper, and he's had to drag himself off the field. It was just as this crowd here at Lord's started to believe England could chase down 277. Joe Root's still there. They may well still do it, but if they do, they're going to do it without their captain, Ben Stokes, who's gone for 54, England 159 for 5.
John, thanks very much. Keep us in touch. That's getting exciting. At this stadium, I mean, it should be empty because of racist Hungary fans, but there are 30-odd thousand kids in here, and they booed the England players taking the knee before the game. Kids booing footballers who are showing their support in the fight against racism. It defies belief when there's an extreme right-wing rally going on not far from here today in support of a political party that's growing in this country. You have to wonder what the future will hold. I described pre-match the accusations and examples aimed at that party of racism, anti-Semitism, homophobia, all from far-right politicians in Hungary. Even some of our own politicians in the UK were dismissive of footballers taking the knee. Let's not forget that. I always wonder why life is made so difficult for people who want to eradicate racism. It's a strange one. That's sad news again. Thousands of kids in this stadium booed England players who were taking the knee, their way of saying they support the fight against racism. And a word of thanks to Captain Harry Kane. Wearing a pride armband is a thing of beauty. Dread to think what will happen if the kids clock that. Let's talk about the football, Dean Ashton. We're 6 games away from the World Cup. Defensively, England do not look like world champions, do they?
No, they've been cut open a couple of times, and tactically, I think they've suffered. They've really struggled in the middle there, Rice and Bellingham. They've got too many players. At times, I've looked down, and it's 2 against 5, and so that, you know, Rice looks absolutely shot already. You know, he's putting in a lot of work alongside Bellingham, who is doing the same, but looks a little bit lost in terms of where he needs to go. Who is he meant to defend out of those 5 players that they're up against? They need a little bit more help in the middle of the pitch to England, and it's been slow, lethargic. It's had a real end of season feel to it, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, everybody seems to be wide. So you've got Bowen and Mount are wide. You've got the wing-backs who are wide. Maguire's hugging the left touchline. Walker's hugging the right touchline at times. Everybody seems to be wide, which is why those central midfielders got so much work to do. That system, I mean, you said you're uncomfortable with the 3 at the back. I mean, on that first half evidence, it looks like that system cannot work in England's favour if we're serious about trying to win a World Cup.
Well, at the moment, not today. It hasn't worked because they've got the better of us tactically. There's no doubt that they're able to find that spare player, because when we lose the ball, that 5 against 2 is then too easy for them to pick the pass. You're right, Walker and Maguire do not want to go in and follow the forwards. They're having to make that decision, which shouldn't be happening ultimately, because we're sort of playing the same system as them. So how is it so overloaded in the middle of the pack, in the middle of the pitch, and why hasn't it changed? That would be my criticism. It's very obvious for us to see, let alone one of the coaches to say, well, this isn't working. We can see that something needed to have changed, and you're right. Mason Mount maybe could have been the player that lopsidedly drops in a little bit deeper, maybe when we haven't got the ball, and also when we do, we've got that extra player in the middle. But it's a difficult decision for Southgate to make at half-time.
But fellas, I just wonder, I mean, he's talked consistently about the need to have different ways of playing. We saw that in the Euros, where 2 of the games he started with the back 3 and the other 5 he started with the back 4. Is this a formation that is better suited to playing against the better teams, where England aren't going to have as much possession, but when you're playing in a match that you are going to be very heavy in possession, that you should then play a back 4, as indeed he did the last time he was here?
Yeah, possibly, and that could be his thinking. But it hasn't worked today, and we've got to judge on what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, of course.
With these games being really important to see how we are going to play, and making sure that the players understand the roles that they've got. And I would say that first half has not been fair on Bellingham, because he has looked around as if, well, who am I meant to pick up out of these 5? And at no point have I looked and thought, oh well, someone's got hold of him, and now he understands his role. He's just been running in all different directions. Those are the things I'd like to see, that somebody out there, you know, these are international players. You want somebody out there to recognise what's going on in the middle of the pitch, and who can rectify that as players as well.
I thought Bowen, to talk about the David Johnson, I thought Bowen did well. Maybe first 15-20 minutes, James Justin took time to get into the game and perhaps looked a little bit lost, but settled into it as the game went on. And what have you made of them two?
I think Bowen was excellent early on, making great runs, linked well with Harry Kane. He's gone a little bit quieter. They've wised up to those runs and doubled up on him at times. Justin, I wonder whether that injury, because once he had that, went down with what looked like a little injury, he's then not been as effective. He hasn't seemed to have made those runs that he was beyond Kane and Mount, that he was early on. He looked really threatening down that left-hand side. I just wonder whether there is an issue there, and whether we might see him changed at half-time, because he didn't then look the same. But it's not been a great game for them, really. The tempo's not been great. England as a team have not played particularly well. But as Jim said in commentary, we haven't conceded yet, unbelievably. And that's the thing, we are hard to play against. We are. The back 3 have pretty much stayed as they are. They haven't gone out of position particularly. So, again, we haven't conceded, but we've not looked great.
Yeah, we're hard to beat, hard to watch at the minute. It's 0-0, but it's not a good 0-0 live on TalkSport.
Grow happiness this bank holiday weekend with 20% off outdoor plants at B&Q. From fragrant lavender to freshly picked herbs. Shop 20% off outdoor plants in-store at B&Q. Hurry, ends Monday. You can do it. Excludes bulbs and turf, ends 6th of June. Subject to availability. See in-store or DIY.com.
At Tesco Mobile, get the incredible iPhone 13, featuring the most advanced dual camera system ever on iPhone, and 25 gigs of data to share every stunning moment this summer. All for just $33.99 a month with club card prices, saving you a massive £216. Plus, unlike most networks, our prices stay fixed throughout your contract. This is Supermarket Mobile. To switch, pop in store or search Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Ends 19th of July. Was $39.99, saving £6 monthly. Club card, 36-month credit and rolling monthly used agreements required. Charges and terms at tescomobile.com/terms. See tescomobile.com/fixed prices.
Hi, I'm Alan Brazil.
And I'm Ray Parlour.
We're taking our new live stage show on the road,
Sponsored by Arnold Clark. Join us for an evening of fun and laughter with tales from the studio, from the dressing rooms, and of course, Cheltenham.
TalkSport's Alan Brazil and Ray Parlour will be live in Newcastle and Nottingham. Get your tickets now from talksport.com/events.
That's him, Ray Parlour.
And him, Alan Brazil.
We'll see you there.
On DAB, online, and on your smart speaker.
Talk Sport. Powered by fans.
Welcome to Budapest, a hot late afternoon under azure skies in such stark contrast to the cool damp morning. And welcome to the Puskás Arena in the east of the capital, named after the greatest Hungarian player of them all. Bowen peels away out towards the far post, and Kane opened up the body and went for the top right-hand corner, but put it wide. 0-0 on Talk Sport. Nego plays it inside the area awkwardly. It's going to be cleared off the line by Cody. And Pickford was far from happy at the amount of space that Nego had on the right. He fired it inside the penalty area. Soboslai got there first. Goalkeeper off his line. Pickford sees it drift over his shoulder and wide. It was an inspirational attempt from Salah. He was inside the centre circle. And he knows that Pickford's got this advanced starting position. And as soon as it came to him, he tried his luck. It bounced once, and he wrapped his right foot underneath it. And Pickford was beaten all ends up, and it sailed about a foot wide. That's a massive level.
Oh, it was a special attempt, wasn't it, from Adam Salah?
It would have been an amazing goal from Adam Salah. That was the highlight, and it was a Hungary highlight as well. They probably should be in front. Let's speak to Hugh Wozencroft. He's with you when we wrap up at around about 7:30 after the game. He'll be taking your calls on game day, your verdict. Make a note of the number 03717223344. That England performance, sum it up for us, Hugh.
Lacklustre, wasn't it, Adrian? Let's be perfectly honest. And there's part of me that thinks, are these England players tired? I think they would have been. I think their shoulders would have slumped a little bit looking at that formation. I don't know if some of them need to speak up, the likes of Harry Kane. I mean, why would you want to be playing in this formation against a team like Hungary, with all due respect to them, with the talent that England have in their England squad? And I think all England fans are feeling a little bit down, having seen that first half and that approach. There's absolutely no reason why England should be playing like this against the sides that they should be dominating. They should be, frankly speaking, playing off the park. They have to change at half-time. They have to go more attacking. It just hasn't been the England that we expect.
No, it hasn't. Having said that, when I'm looking at the overview of the pitch right now inside the stadium, and at times when England have got possession, it is just Connor Cody on the edge of the penalty box, Jordan Pickford behind him, and you could describe the rest as in attacking positions. I mean, we saw that Beckenbauer-esque run from Harry Maguire down the left flank shortly before half-time. I thought it was sensational, one as a corner. So, I mean, is it as negative as you're making out? I don't know.
Is that what you expect England to be doing against the best sides? We'll leave it up to Harry Maguire to dribble it out the back and create chances? I mean, come on, Adrian. This is not what we expect.
He created two chances. Effectively, he had a real big hand in two chances against Ivory Coast at Wembley. He's playing more centrally then, but I mean, I think he's a better footballer than people give him credit for. I mean, I can't wait for all the callers on your show blaming Harry Maguire for everything, including the weather. Obviously, that's going to happen. But, I mean, if we take a sensible approach with 5.5 games to go to the World Cup, it's not been great. Why hasn't it been great? Do we scrap that plan completely and go somewhere different? I'm fascinated by what the callers on your show are going to say.
So am I. Listen, you've got to have more than one way of playing. But you've got to expect that in the bigger games in the World Cup, England will play like this and have less possession. But in the games that we're favourites to win, are we going to be happy playing like this? Of course we aren't. Is that going to be a team that's going to be a better side when you get to the latter stages of the tournament? Are they just going to be able to switch it on? No, they're not. They're not. They haven't as yet against the best sides in international football. It's going to be really intriguing to see what the fans think. If England don't win this match, I can imagine probably all hell will break loose on the phone in a little bit later on 7:30. I'll be alongside the former England striker Gabby Agbonlahor, taking your calls 03717 223344.
Hugh, really looking forward to that when we finish here. When the game is done, Hugh will be taking over, taking your calls on the England action. Let's bring Dean Ashton back in, because I think one of the talking points is going to be Trent Alexander-Arnold as well. And sometimes they're unforced errors. Two of his corners have just ballooned straight out of play. He's had a long, hard season, Trent Alexander-Arnold. So, you know, any wonder he's not playing particularly well, and maybe he shouldn't be playing in this game. I don't know what the answer is there, but he's not been good.
It's not been great, but there's been moments where he's shown real quality. There was a ball that he played in behind for Jared Bowen, was absolutely outstanding. There was a ball early on, crossfield ball with the outside of his right foot on the half volley. And that's, you know, I'd actually say it is more like watching him at Liverpool, because, you know, we see those brilliant moments from him, and then there is that lax at the times. You know, there was no doubt Nodge should have got in behind him at the back play. He was just switched off for a second, but I don't think we can pin it on anyone. I think the whole team's been poor. It's been a very poor first half from England against a side such as Hungary, who they've looked like they've wanted it a bit more, and that's not really what we want to see.
No, indeed. Quick word on... well, in fact, we'll leave it because the second half is about to get underway, and changes to report as well. It is Hungary 0, England 0. Nations League is not being good. Please get better. Live on TalkSport with former England striker Dean Ashton and your commentator Jim Proudfoot.
Well, it's interesting that the last time these two sides met here, back in September, England were excellent. It was a performance that really impressed, and it was 0-0 at half-time that day as well. The change that England have made is at left wing-back, where Bukayo Saka, who many people had anticipated actually starting the game in that role, has replaced James Justin for the second half. Saka for Justin, you would have to think that is predominantly because of the injury that he picked up in the first half. And Saka in possession straight away from the restart, with England white shirts, dark blue shorts, kicking from left to right in this second half. Saka for Justin, Dean Ashton.
Well, it was obvious that he had a problem, and because it's England, you don't want to come off. I hope he hasn't done any, lasting damage to whatever that injury was by staying on and maybe just playing within himself, which I personally could clearly see that he all of a sudden wasn't making those runs, which was a shame to see. So, right decision. If he's not right, bring on Saka, who will certainly give a slightly different dimension to the way that he'll play that role.
Bukayo Saka on for his 15th cap. He has scored 3 in his last 4 England appearances. Home and away against Andorra, and also in San Marino, where nearly everybody scored. The player was involved in 20 goals in all competitions this season for Arsenal, scoring 11 in the Premier League. Rice closing down and shutting out a ball that was played down the inside left channel for Hungary, and it goes out of play for an England throw. So England lining up: Pickford in goal, Walker, Cody, Maguire, Alexander-Arnold, Bellingham, Rice and Saka on for Justin, Bowen, Kane and Mount. Hungary, Golancsi in goal, Long, Orban, Soloy, Nego, Adam Nodge, Schaefer, Zoltnodge, Shaloi, Salai, Soboslai. The ball headed away by Saloy. Plays his club football in Turkey with Fenerbahce. Now Willy Orban back for Long again, one of the locally based players. Flicked by him through the midfield for Adam Nodge. Nego then does well to find Salai in a little bit of space around the halfway line. England turn over possession again and work it forward with Harry Kane, but sliding in, Nego's won it back. And Hungary can bring it forward and play down to the left-hand side for Zoltnodge. He controls it, takes the touch, but goes very quickly back inside his own half. And then back even deeper for goalkeeper Peter Golancsi in all yellow today. 4 from him. Salai coming to meet the ball, flicks it off through the midfield. An opportunity for Soboslai to bring it forward, and there's plenty of space over on the right-hand side for Nego. Saka goes across there now, can't stop him getting the ball in. Bellingham has a couple of little nibbles to try and flick it away from Soboslai, and in the end, with the aid of Saka, England are going to be able to get it away down that left-hand side, but not particularly comfortably. They end up winning a throw, but just made heavy weather of it. In fact, the referee's assistant over on the far touchline has given the throw the other way, and only mock complaints really from the England player, so seemingly it was the right decision. Throw taken quickly, they will get another throw after Bellingham slides in. The throw which is taken quickly and looked like a foul throw. Soboslai towards the edge of the penalty area for Schaefer. He's lost out with a little layoff. England work it forward, but not with any quality. Mount missing Kane, and it's just side-footed almost aimlessly into Hungary territory, where they can retrieve it and win it back, and now play it forward again towards Shaloi. Clever little layoff from him. Nodge with the shot, and it's wide of the far post. The first sighted goal in the second half goes Hungary's way, still 0-0.
Oh, what a sloppy start from England. 3 times they've just given the ball away aimlessly. When you think come out second half, let's look sharp, let's up the tempo. They've been lazy in possession. too easy, that ball over the top for Szalai. Nodded back for Zoltnoj to just take the shot with no real pressure. What poor start.
Szalai, one of the players that has scored against England in this 22-game unbeaten run, only 6 have. And they've had the better chances today. 4 minutes into the second half, and no discernible change to the pattern of play since half-time for England, who have possession inside their own penalty area here with Jordan Pickford in all black. Played forward by him for Cody. Alexander-Arnold on the right-hand side by the halfway line, just waiting to try and get a little bit of service. He's got an ultra-advanced position down the England right. Now punted forward long. Nego comes back and defends it. Good cushion header from him. Finds his goalkeeper and took Kane out of the picture. Bowen came and put Galazzi under pressure, but it's cleared, and then a little bit of wrestling going on involving Maguire, and Cody goes down. England get a free kick. They've taken it quickly, even whilst Cody is down and in need of treatment. England restarted play. Bowen has it. Bowen will come deeper. Cody is back on his feet, but he's clutching his ribcage with his right hand. He's just motioned across to the England medical staff that he's all right and doesn't need treatment. Saka's able to bring it forward, and he will drive towards the edge of the penalty area. And still he goes. The angle is tight, and Galazzi saves at the near post with his foot. But better from England, more dynamic. And Bukayo Saka, the first time he's really had the ball at his feet, an opportunity to try and take the Hungarian back line on. Hungary then break quickly and win a free kick, which results in a yellow card being shown to Conor Cody.
Well, actually, I think it could have been 2 yellow cards, because Cody made the second challenge. He's actually given the yellow to Maguire, who'd made the initial challenge on that far side, right near the touchline. Actually, Cody's got away with his one, who took Adam Szalai out on the halfway line as well. But that was brilliant from Saka. Honestly, what a fantastic dynamic run that was. 1-2 and then burst through. Could have played Kane, didn't, took it on himself. And actually it was a good save in the end from Galazzi, using his feet well just to block the shot. Didn't have the power on that Saka, I'm sure, would have wanted, but that's more of what we should be seeing from this England side, that real injection of life into the attack.
Hungary have got it inside their own half, and it's played down towards Szalai. Szalai's ball forward. Soboslai picks it up. England just shuffling across. That yellow card for Cody, the first shown to an England player, with Schaefer booked in the first half for Hungary. High ball out towards the far touchline, sails over the head of Saka, who just cleverly watched the run of Nego coming in, and it goes out for a throw, which again has been given Hungary's way. No, it is an England throw over on that far touchline. This is a Hungarian side that have now failed to qualify for each of the last 10 World Cups. They last made it in 1986 when they saw off Canada, but were well beaten by the then Soviet Union and France. Runners-up immediately before the Second World War, and again that golden Hungarian side with the Puskás and Co. in 1954. But they just dream of getting back to the world stage, really. They've progressed well in the Nations League. They won promotion in 2019, and they finished second in the group behind Finland and benefited from the restructuring of the competition, and then won promotion again from League B last time out when they finished above Russia, Serbia and Turkey, which was some achievement. They've got possession at the back with Szalai. Szalai poking it back infield. And it'll be clipped left-footed down towards the left for Nodge to chase after it. Nodge going shoulder to shoulder with Walker, but couldn't beat him. And it goes over the line, out of play for a goal kick, which will be taken by Jordan Pickford. 8 into the second half, and it's business as usual, really, 0-0.
Well, nothing's changed tactically, which has surprised me. And you're right, the pattern is very much the same, with Hungary on top tactically because of that extra player that they've got, or extra 2 players they have in midfield.
Nodge under pressure from Bellingham, just plays the ball back to the edge of the penalty area, and then can turn and play Schaefer in. So what should England be doing? If there's a two-man advantage for Hungary there, that means that England have spare men elsewhere. What do they need to do to be able to utilise that with this system that they're playing? If they're going to continue playing the same way, how do they play this system more effectively? I'll get your thoughts on that in a moment as Soboslai brings it forward. Finds Nego in space, the right wing-back cropping up in central midfield. Adam Nodge can bring it forward. Nodge to his right-hand side for Nego. Speculative effort from him. Big handball shot against Maguire, but his arms were down by his side. And Alexander-Arnold's going to be able to bring it away.
Yeah, I think he just caught the corner of his elbow as it was just sticking out from his rib cage. Maguire didn't look like a penalty to me. But I think as players, actually, when you look at Hungary, out of possession, they're quite rigid in their defensive positioning. But when they have the ball, the wing-backs are roaming. Schaefer keeps dropping into the back three. The two forwards up there with Salai kind of drift into whatever positions that when we get the ball, Mount and Bowen are very much just sat in those positions out wide. We've not got no freedom with how our team's playing. If I was Mount, I'd recognise that maybe I need to be tucking in and giving a helping hand, and actually it might end up giving him a good position to receive from when we do win the ball.
Soboslai's done very cleverly there in the midfield. He's just dropped his shoulder and rolled away from Bowen. Nego now out to the right flank. Another opportunity for Hungary to get the bodies forward. They've got four inside the penalty area if they can get it across in towards the near post, but Saka's there to clear. Back out towards Long. Long now to Adam Nodge, the former Bristol City man, firing it in. Walker off-balanced it well to head it away, and Bowen can help it further upfield. Yes. But if anything, England have been marginally worse in this second half than they were in the first so far.
Yeah, they have. Steve Holland's come out and they're having deep conversation, him and Gareth Southgate, I'm sure, about what needs to change, because whatever they said at half-time doesn't seem to have had an effect. And at the moment it does feel as if it's Hungary that's going to get a winner.
Well, they famously beat England back in the 1950s. They haven't beaten England since the 1962 World Cup, some 60 years ago. A heavy touch from Soboslai. Alexander-Arnold seizes upon it. Ball in towards the feet of Bowen, who had two converging on him very quickly. England do get it back, but on the edge of their own penalty area. Maguire wanted options to present themselves, and few did, but he could find Saka. Saka works it forward. Mount drops deep to pick it up, but it was easily read by Long. Back out towards Nego. Another good delivery from him in towards Salai. Salai clipping it in towards the far post, and Walker cushions a header, and cushioned it sufficiently for Pickford to be able to make a relatively comfortable save. He's then trying to get it out, trademark style, as quickly as possible for Alexander-Arnold, and missed him, and they'll come forward again with Nodge, and he just has it picked off his toes inside the box by Cody. And it's just a catalogue of errors at the moment from England. Now they'll be able to bring it forward with Bowen, poking it forward for Kane. He's got a man over to his left. It's Mason Mount coming onto it, left-footed ball flicked in, takes a deflection and goes wide. And that was much better from England on the counter-attack. But it shouldn't really just be taking counter-attacks to create opportunities.
No, it shouldn't, but when the opportunity arises, and again, just that last little bit of quality. Kane, the ball slightly stuck under his feet, bobbled it across to Mount, who then had to stretch, couldn't get the right touch, and then again was actually lucky to get a corner because he tried to strike with his left foot, scuffed it into the ground and off the defender. But it needed a brilliant interception from Conor Cody at the other end to stop Zoltan Nodge going through against Pickford.
England's first corner of the second half, their fifth of the game. A right-footed in-swinger towards the near post. It is headed away, out as far as Bowen! And he chested it down and struck it left-footed, but well over the bar and into the Hungarian support away to our right-hand side. 13 gone second half. And it's still Hungary 0, England 0 on TalkSport, and there will be plenty to debate. And we'll hear the reaction from Gareth Southgate and the headline makers after the game with our England correspondent Faye Carruthers doing a fine job down getting the interviews and speaking to the men that matter after the game. And then from 7:30, Former Villa forward Gabby Agbonlahor will take your calls on game day. Your verdict, alongside Hugh Woozencroft. And I know you're going to have plenty to say. 03717223344. Get your calls in. Have your say on national radio from 7:30 tonight. And all the reaction to come immediately after this game and in that programme as well here on Talk Sport, as we've got 3 more Nations League games coming up for you. Starting Tuesday in Munich, England will have to play better than they have today away to Germany. Now we're at the Allianz Arena for you, on air at 7 for an 8 o'clock kickoff Tuesday night here on Talk Sport. As the ball is with Galacci, the Hungarian goalkeeper, chested down by Shalai as he came to meet it. Rice is in there, getting the better of Schaefer. Bellingham brings it down. That's a nice piece of play from him. Bowen, outside him is Kane. Right-footed ball in, wins another corner as it's chested by Saloy off the island and out for England's 6th corner of the day. 0-0.
It actually feels like they are allowing Hungary to have a lot of possession without any real pressure. And then when it's going into midfield, that's when they're trying to get the ball, England, and then spring a counter-attack, and it's almost worked a couple of times. I think that might be more of a ploy than trying to, in this heat, just really press from the front.
Alexander-Arnold to take this latest England corner, but this one's on the right flank. All 5 of the previous ones have come from the left. So this is an away swinger. Harry Maguire came to attack it and maybe just shoved his man. It's gone out of play anyway, but it's going to be a free kick to Hungary inside their own penalty area. We played an hour and we're going to see some changes. 3 of them by the look of it. Stones, James and Grealish are the 3 England players who are stripped and ready for action and are about to be introduced.
And it just, I think, shows the quality in our squad, doesn't it? That, you know, we can change such personnel and bring on such quality. And they could change the game, these players that come on. And it needs to, because it's again been a poor display second half still.
Well, Trent Alexander-Arnold hangs his head as he comes off. He's going to be replaced by Reece James. Kyle Walker's already off and John Stones is on for him. And Jack Grealish replaces Mason Mount. So Grealish for Mount, Stones for Walker and James for Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah, I think if I was making changes, I think I would have brought off Mount, that's for sure. And again, you don't know whether it's already been preordained right on the hour mark that certain players, that's all they're going to play. I'm sure they've talked about that, the England staff.
It's managing the workload at the end of the long, hard season. I mean, there are players in the England squad that have played more than 60 games for club and country over the course of this campaign. 4 more over 11 days on the agenda for England. And you very much doubt that everybody's going to play 360 minutes, or anybody, sorry, is going to play 360 minutes within that. So it is just a question of managing the situation. England forced into a change at half-time where Justin went off injured and he was replaced by Saka. So England have made 4 changes now of the 5 that they can. James plays it down the right-hand side now. Coming back to meet it was Bowen, but it was already past him and out for a throw, which will be taken on the Hungarian left. No change in system with the changes that have been made. So James playing at right wing back, Saka on the left. Stones on the right of the 3 centre-halves with Cody and Maguire. Rice and Bellingham in the middle. Grealish on the left of the front 3 with Bowen on the right. And they flanked Harry Kane, who's drifted deep, as he loves to do. High ball play forward by Pickford will turn the back line, but it's overhit. And Orban can watch it through to his goalkeeper Galacci before Grealish could get on the end of it. And it remains 0-0 with 27 minutes to go here on TalkSport.
I mean, ultimately, we've got to be honest. You know, England have given the ball away cheaply. The quality's not been great. We've gone long, maybe too quickly at times, without quality. It's not been a great performance.
They go out of the Hungarian right. It's an overhit cross for Shalai in the middle. James comes back, guides it back to his goalkeeper, and the referee's given a penalty. A penalty against Reece James. And a yellow card as well. It's just a high, innocuous ball towards the far post. And James was watching the runner and was deemed to have collided with him and not played the ball. And a penalty has been given to Hungary. And the last time the two sides met, the Hungarians had the opportunity to take the lead from the spot, and it was one that they took, and they've been given that very same chance again as we approach the midway stage of the second half.
Well, he doesn't make the right decision, first of all. He tries to control it, and then I think he thinks he can just ease the striker away and let it run out for a goal kick, and he just gets his distances, his angles all wrong, and then he does. It's a soft penalty, let's get it right. He leans on Zoltnoj, but it's soft. It just makes the wrong decision there, James. Rather than controlling that, either you get communication from Pickford and you're controlling it back to him, or you clear it. You don't really need to take a chance. I think he just thought he could then see that out, and the referee has deemed it to be a penalty.
Well, he'd only been on the field for 4 minutes. Reece James, he's given this penalty away, and it's going to be Soboslai against Jordan Pickford, who's produced some heroic moments facing penalties in his England career. Can he produce another one here? He can't. Soboslai drills it into the bottom left-hand corner, and England trail in Hungary with 25 minutes to go. A soft penalty, yes, but a poor England performance, and Hungary will feel that over the strength of what they produced in more than an hour, they deserve the advantage. Soboslai from the spot. It's the most inauspicious start to England's tournament year. They trail in their first competitive game of 2022 by a goal to nil.
Well, ultimately, you know, we talked about Trent Alexander-Arnold maybe switching off. Well, Reece James has done exactly the same. He's made the wrong decision, and he's paid for it. It's a brilliant penalty from Soboslai. Pickford went the right way, but was never going to get anywhere near. When you hit it with that much force right into the inside side netting, keepers don't tend to save those, and they're celebrating it in the way that you would expect. Big goal for Hungary. Now we'll see the character in this England side. When it's really tough like this, let's see the character.
Only the 7th goal England have conceded in this long unbeaten run that started the back end of 2020. 2 of them have been Hungarian penalties. And can England respond? It took them less than quarter of an hour to get back on level terms in the last meeting of these two, and it was John Stones, who's in possession now, that scored that day. He's played it down towards Reece James. 1-0 to Hungary, and is England's longest ever unbeaten run going to come to an end here in Budapest in the next 20 minutes or so. Bowen's offside as England work it forward, and England simply have to improve, firstly over the final quarter of this game, and then over the next 5 Nations League games as well, because they've already got work to do in this campaign. They trail 1-0 midway through the second half on TalkSport.
Yeah, interestingly, Harry Kane just bellowing to the rest of his teammates just to calm things down, because straight away they're trying to just force that ball over the top for Bowen, who was offside. You know, they've hardly had a good spell of possession where they've actually built an attack, England, in this second half. But ultimately, this is the situation that they've got themselves in, and it's going to be fascinating to see how they try and get out of this with just over 20 minutes to go. It's a position they might be in the World Cup, and they're going to have to find a way.
Well, we were critical of their first half performance. And England in that first half, 4 attempts, 60% of the possession. The second half, England have had 40% of the possession, and they've had 3 attempts, but only 1 on target. 1 shot on target in either half of the game. We're 68 minutes in, and I'm sure your reaction will be one of even greater frustration now when you're speaking to Gabby Agbonlahor and Hugh Woosencroft on Game Day. Your verdict at 7:30 tonight, the British time, on TalkSport at the conclusion of this game, and the interviews from our England correspondent Faker Rose will make for very interesting listening as well. John Stones has got the ball for England. And he plays it down towards the right-hand side for Reece James. James back for Stones again. Stones just a yard inside his own half. Bellingham will be able to take it on. Comes back for Stones. England, remember, have already made 4 changes. Bellingham just turns away. Hungary will be more than happy just to keep a tight, regimented shape behind the ball. They're very good at that, and it is very much a back 5 now that England are playing against. 5-4-1, and England struggling to break them down. Grealish with just about his first contribution since coming on. Lays it back here for Cody. Cody forward for Bowen, and James just didn't make the run for him. Bowen trying to feather the ball out towards the right-hand touchline. James made no attempt to get there, and in the end, Bowen got closest to his own flick-on to be able to play it. Hungary get it away from the edge of their own penalty area. Salah caught in possession by Rice. Still industrious in the midfield. Soboslai, the goal scorer, will be able to pick it up. He scored a few important ones in his time as a Hungarian international. The youngster who scored the winner in Turkey in the Nations League last season, the winner against Iceland in the playoffs that got them into the Euros, and as he just scored the goal that will give them their first win over England for 60 years. They're going to make a change, the Hungarians. It's their first, and they're bringing Klein Heisler on into the midfield, and they will replace Shaloi. So Klein Heisler for Shaloi. 20 minutes to go. England looking for inspiration. Dean Ashton.
Yeah, Klein Heisler was brilliant, actually, especially the game against France when he just sat in that midfield, and Soboslai will go a little bit higher alongside Salai, and that'll again just give them a little bit more security. Not that they particularly needed it in that midfield area.
Bellingham's done well, plays it forward towards James. James back for Jude Bellingham again towards the edge of the penalty area. Had Kane to his right, but he couldn't find him. Rice is there, down for Stones. James takes over. Hungary haven't played like a side who are only ranked 40th in the world. England haven't played like a side who are ranked 5th in the world. Saka back towards Bellingham again. Long right-footed diagonal over the top from Maguire. Bowen coming onto it, left-footed volley. Goalkeeper makes the save, but it was better from England.
Harry Maguire, what a pass. That was brilliant vision. Just dropped it over the top of Orban into Bowen's path. I thought it was the right decision, actually, to take it first time. It was there to be hit on the volley. Side volley, just right at the goalkeeper. If anything, the only criticism I would have is, could he have hit that into the ground? It's a difficult skill, though, when it's being floated in and you're trying to hit that on the volley first time, Bowen. But they're the positions that we expect him to pick up. And a brilliant pass from Maguire.
Colin Cody. Not that many games in the recent past that England have failed to score in. There were 4 last season, a couple of them against Denmark, and then Belgium and Scotland as well. As Grealish plays it down towards Saka, left-footed, the cross comes in from him, takes a deflection, might break, inside the penalty area for Bellingham, whose shot is blocked, it hits the thigh of a defender, and goalkeeper Galacci throws himself on the loose ball on the edge of the 6-yard box.
All of a sudden, Jude Bellingham has just gone into a more advanced role, ahead of Rice, and he's getting himself into good positions, and it fell brilliantly for him there. It was headed back down, and you think, go on, put it in. Beautiful strike. And when you looks in, as it seems to be at the moment for Hungary, it just struck the thigh of Long and just took any sort of pace off the ball into the goalkeeper's hands. But much better, and Jude Bellingham straight away in the last 2 or 3 minutes, just from being more advanced, has looked better than in the previous 70 minutes.
Yeah, had that shot not hit the thigh of the defender, it probably would have gone in. In hitting the thigh, it wrong-footed the goalkeeper, but took so much pace out of it that he was then able to pounce on the ball. Grealish in the midfield for England, turns and brings it away. England all of a sudden playing with better tempo and a little bit of dynamism with a little over 15 minutes remaining. They trail Hungary 1-0. Maguire Gets it from Saka, plays it out to Grealish. Back he goes for Rice. Cody to Rice again. And now Declan Rice making his way forward with Grealish on the left. Reece James in plenty of space on the England right if it can be worked across. Bowen waiting in the middle, in the D, along with Kane. England have the ball, but that little bit deeper. James making a run, and they've tried to angle it in towards him. James trying to go shoulder to shoulder with Nolch and invite some contact. None came, and it goes out of play for a throw that'll be taken on the Hungarian left, but down by the corner flag in their own left-back position. 74 gone. And England trail Hungary by a goal to nil on TalkSport.
Tempo, isn't it? Just all of a sudden, every single pass has got that extra bit of pace on it. The little movements that the players are making look sharper. You always ask the question, why wasn't that the case before the goal? Or if Hungary just sat back a little bit more, but the England players look, there's more urgency.
15 minutes to go. And Rice has got the ball, and he brings it forward. And he looks up, surveys his options, and he had Bowen and James making runs, and he couldn't quite spear the ball through to find either of them. It was a close run thing. Good pass, and good running off the ball as well from England. Bellingham, signs of encouragement latterly, but it has taken a Soberschlei penalty to get England to come to the party, really. Here's Bellingham again. Work back for Stones. Stones receiving a pass from Cody, and then he ends up going down the line for Jared Bowen, and Bowen is given a shove and wins a free kick on the right-hand touchline after being pushed to the ground by Saloy. And a side that ordinarily are pretty good from wide free kicks and from set pieces have a chance to get the big guns forward here. They need something. They trail 1-0 with 14 left.
Yeah, looked a tired challenge that from Saloy on Bowen, who's just stretching his shoulder out. Saloy went over the top and just need him in the back for good measure. But this is a dangerous position, and we have been really good from set plays under Gareth Southgate. Wouldn't surprise me if an equaliser was to come from this sort of situation.
James and Bowen are the two men standing over it. Bowen is just giving Reece James the instructions. James raises his right arm above his head. Nearly everybody fought for England. Grealish on the edge of the D, but 7 in there to attack it. James, little flick header, and he's taken a touch on its way through and gone wide. Well, he was well met by Cody, darting near post header, and it went across the face of goal, but beat the far post and goes out for a goal kick. England getting closer, but still not close enough as the clock ticks on to 77.
Yeah, Cody just making that dart again from an offside position onto an onside position. Really flat delivery from Reece James, and he was just looking to flick that towards the far post. There wasn't anyone following in though, as it just about shaved the post on its way past.
Now, reminder that Adrian will be alongside Dean Ashton Monday in Munich. Drive coming from Germany ahead of Germany against England on Tuesday, and Didi Hamann will be joining the boys in Munich as well. Then we've got the game for you live Tuesday night, Germany-England. Next Saturday, England at home to Italy at Molineux, and then Hungary against England again in the Black Country. And that's a week Tuesday, the 14th, live on TalkSport. England worked this one forward, but away from Kane and into the hands of Peter Galacci. Well, this will be one of the most famous wins that Hungary have had for a long time. They haven't beaten England in 15 attempts. But are they going to break that 60-year wait for a victory over the Three Lions? They're only 12 minutes plus stoppage time away from doing it. Schaefer's got it. England's final change is imminent. There's a little bit of action on the bench in front of us. Hungary in possession. Schaefer has done well to win a throw off Stones down by the corner flag. And that will allow England the opportunity to make this final change. And Cody's coming off and Phillips is coming on. So there's going to be a change now to a back four.
Yeah, it looks like it. And then either Phillips will go in alongside Rice, or Rice will sit at the base, or Phillips will sit at the base. and maybe give a bit more freedom to Bellingham and Rice.
Get your calls in now. 03717223344. Game day, your verdict, coming up at 7:30 tonight. Hugh Wozencroft and Gabby Agbonlahor taking your calls, picking over the bones of England's performance, and at the moment picking over the bones of an England defeat. Grealish has the chance to bring it away, though, from near the edge of his own penalty area. His round one challenge, takes on a second, tries to beat a third, still had the ball with his feet, but a fourth player came across. That's not being critical of Grealish. He had very little options either side of him, and really was forced to try and bulldoze his way through himself, but they had enough bodies back to be able to stop him. Also, don't forget, Monday, Laura Wood's back from Monaco alongside Ali McCoist and Dean Saunders, reflecting on a weekend of hugely significant football action. England in the Nations League, Wales in their World Cup playoff tomorrow, taking on Ukraine. The winners of that will play against England in the World Cup. Will it be a happy Dean Saunders or not? We'll find out Monday morning with Laura and Ali from 6, and Dean joins them from 8 on TalkSport Breakfast. Here's Bukayo Saka for England as we go into the final 10 minutes. Hungary leading 1-0. Saka's ball in, bypassing Grealish. Hungary will be able to bring it away. They're going to make a double change very shortly, with the English-born midfielder Callum Styles poised to come on in a moment. It'll be played out from the back to Harry Maguire. Maguire now on the left of the two centre-halves, with Stones to his right. Rice and Phillips in the centre of midfield. Here is Calvin Phillips. Space for Reece James on the right. Tried to spear it over the top for Kane. Bellingham able to pick up the pieces. Had a very heavy touch which was easily cleared. England then put the pressure on but can't win it back. And Salah has it inside the centre circle. And Maguire had stepped forward and they played it over the top of Maguire, and he thought there was an offside, but Stones had played everybody on, and it's an opportunity for two. Pickford makes the save, and it is ridiculously ballooned over the bar. It should be 2, and it should be a victory to Hungary, but Schaefer has missed it, and that is a monumental layoff as far as England are concerned. The ball was played forward, Schaefer was in there, Klein Heisler was in there as well, and the ball ends up going over the bar. It should be 2-0. And he should be lights out, but England is still fighting.
Oh, zip open the floor and let Schaefer just drop into it. That is an unbelievable miss. Brilliant save from Pickford again. And then when it just dropped, Schaefer just leant back and just sent the half volley with the goal wide open over the top. But obviously England pushing. There was no organisation in terms of a defensive line in that situation. Harry Maguire's gone to play offside, but actually the defence was 3 or 4 yards deeper than him. Declan Rice played everybody on, but they could have been in before that ball from Salah.
Well, there's certainly a lack of communication in the back there between Maguire and Stones, and they hadn't pushed forward uniformly. England get it now, played in towards Kane. Kane, right-hand side of the penalty area, pulling it back, an opportunity potentially for Bowen. He's taking a tumble inside the box and just got caught on the right hand. He's back on his feet, not appealing for a penalty. Stones has it now on the halfway line. A double change for Hungary, incidentally. Soboslai, the goal scorer, off, replaced by Fiola. And Styles, the Oldham-born midfielder, who a year ago didn't even realise that he had Hungarian ancestry, but now winning his 3rd cap for Hungary, playing his competitive home debut for his country in the final 7 minutes, the Barnsley midfielder. Ball is over on the England left-hand side. 7 to go, plus stoppage time. Maybe 3 or 4 to be added, so England have got about 10 minutes of playing time to try and get themselves back on level terms, keep this unbeaten run going and spare some of the blushes. James, good ball in. Kane went for glory at the near post. Well, if he wrapped his foot around it and pulled it back for Grealish, it may well have ended up being 1-1.
No, I think that's what he was trying to do. I think he was trying to pull that back for Grealish and just lost his balance, and in the end ended up passing it straight into the goalkeeper's hands. It's a great opportunity. Why isn't Kane absolutely taking the leather off with that?
Could have been his 50th goal. Would have been a very important one as far as England are concerned. Nations League campaign, I know you're aware, 4 teams in the group, so you play 6 games. A defeat in the first match doesn't rule you out of anything, doesn't mean that you can't qualify. It doesn't make your job any easier. And whoever finishes bottom of the group will be relegated into League B. Phillips for England, back for Stones. Stones to Maguire. Maguire plays it out towards the England left-hand side again. Saka able to take up more advanced positions now from that left, finding Reece James. James down towards Jarrod Bowen. Bowen coming in off the left flank, left-footed ball clipped in, just slightly too tight an angle for Kane's run. Goes into the hands of Galacci. There's barely 5 minutes left now. 1-0 Hungary.
Almost really good idea from Jarrod Bowen just to feed that in behind the Hungarian defence. You're right, it was just maybe a foot too close to the goalkeeper, otherwise I think Kane would have got there. But not long now. Fascinating to see and hear what the callers say. Almost could feel the groans as it was Phillips that was coming on.
Well, Hungary got 4 centre-halves on the field now. They're playing with the back 3, and they're playing with Attila Fiola, who scored against France in the Euros as a defensive-minded midfielder. He's a centre-half by trade as well. They're going to make another couple of changes in a moment, and they're going to bring on the man who was far and away the leading scorer in the Hungarian league, Martin Adam. And he'll be coming on for only his 3rd cap in a moment. He obviously is a striker. And they're bringing on Vecce as well into the midfield, and he is a defensive-minded midfielder. So it's going to be 3 centre-halves, and then a centre-half and a defensive midfielder playing in midfield. Bowen just stumbles as Maguire tries to play another one of those balls over the top. This isn't happening for England, and it feels now as though the long unbeaten run is going to come to an end. Started in 2020. Just after the Belgium defeat, and it's going to end here in Budapest, seemingly, in what's been a hugely disappointing start to competitive fixtures in 2022 for England, which will culminate in the World Cup. Stones beaten to it by Salah, trying to nutmeg Stones a second time. James is going to be able to get it away after Stones stood his ground, and it goes out of play for a throw that England will take in the right back position, but only after this double change. So Vecce comes on to replace Zotnaj, the left wing back, and I would imagine there'll be a Adam for Salah. Yes, it is. So straight swap up front, fresh legs with 3 minutes to go. How do England create one last worthwhile opportunity?
Well, with some composure, which they haven't had in the game. It's all seemed very forced. Every attack has just been, maybe that pass has gone too early. They're just trying to force that ball over the top.
So the double change made, and Reece James has the ball in his hand, preparing to take this throw for England. 2.5 minutes of normal time to go. England trailing in Hungary by a goal to 0. Gareth Southgate has only had 9 defeats in competitive internationals since he took charge in 53. England heading for another one here unless. Here's Reece James. Play back for Stones. Forward for James again. James trying to work it forward. Phillips in there. Gets there ahead of Styles. Wins the battle of 2 Yorkshire-based players, and now Maguire will play it out towards the left, and Rice can make his way forward here for England. Nudges it infield away from Kleinheisler. Grealish into the feet of Kane on the edge of the penalty area, and he smacked it into the side netting. Left-hand side of the box, and he rifled it towards the near post, and the goalkeeper was scrambling. He didn't miss it by much, but he hit the side netting. It's out of play for a goal kick, and will be very nearly in the 90th minute by the time it's taken. 1-0 Hungary.
Oh, that was close from Harry Kane. That would have been a fantastic strike as well. It just fell for him, fortunately. Tried to play the ball into Jack Grealish, who'd done a lovely bit of tight control work with Bukayo Saka. And then when it just fell, fortunately for Kane, just an instinct, a snapshot, side volley, rifled it into the side netting, probably just about half a foot away from that near post.
Galazzi got a yellow card for time wasting there. Eventually gets it upfield. England work it back to Pickford, who stumbles as he clears it. We are in the 90th minute, and no news yet as to how many extra minutes are going to be added on. James is in there, the man that gave the penalty away. He's won a throw. Kane wanted to take it quickly. Works it forward through the midfield. Bellingham around a challenge, and then his way back to his feet. I thought he was fouled about 6 or 7 yards outside the penalty area. There certainly appeared to be much more contact there than there was on the penalty incident, which the referee gave a penalty Hungary's way. Bellingham way back to his feet, and Kane is very quickly in the ear of the referee as a free kick is then given Hungary's way, about 6 yards inside their own half.
Pitiful decision from the referee. It was just such a clear foul on Bellingham, who had got there first, and that would have been a really dangerous position for a free kick just outside the box.
Bowen survives the challenge as we go into 5 additional minutes. It did look as though that should be an England free kick. In fact, one has been given England's way. Bowen was caught, couldn't keep the ball in. England bring it forward with Rice, needing to find a stoppage time equaliser. Rice down towards Reece James. James can control it. Bowen makes a run down the right-hand touchline for him. Knocked away though by Saloy. He just tries to get the crowd to find a little bit more volume in their support in the closing minutes that remain. Not many of them. 4 of the 5 left. Rice. Saka made a very quick darting run forward. Rice lays it back instead for Grealish. Grealish to his right hand side for Stones. This is better. Reece James, first time ball inside the penalty area, was a poor one with 4 attacking it. It's knocked out of play for a throw, which James himself takes quickly. Stones doesn't give him much of a chance with a return ball, but between them they've managed to maintain possession. Calvin Phillips now for England. Out of the right-hand touchline for Stones, forced back for Pickford, but he's only 6 yards inside his own half as he drives it left-footed out towards the far touchline. It's chested down. Hungary back inside their own penalty area can clear out towards the touchline where the impressive Nego will be able to work it away. And they've got a throw over on the far touchline, Hungary, which they'll be in no hurry to take, and it's just not happening for England. And that long unbeaten run is set to come to an end here in Budapest in the next 3 minutes or so. 1-0 to Hungary.
Yeah, they haven't been able to just switch it on. It's been, even there, Reece James gets into a great position. Just make sure that you beat that first defender, because you can see that there isn't an England attacker looking to get across him. Just make sure you beat him. Give the players behind a chance.
And now a quickly taken throw for Hungary, and they might be able to work a 2 against 1. Still a chance potentially after it was half cleared. Left-footed shot is straight at Pickford. A shot which came in from distance by Adam. And Pickford will take it outside the penalty area and then whack it forward left-footed looking for Kane. Kane well marshalled by Long, who beats him. Loose ball ricochets into the centre circle, and Hungary will be able to bring it down. And now it's played away from Grealish to Fiola. Fiola back through the midfield for Schaefer. Orban on the edge of the penalty area. Maguire has stepped up, he can knock it away. Kane sliding in, wins it back. Was he a little out of control? Referee says play on. Kane, 15 outside the penalty area, into the feet of Maguire. Ball spoons out towards Reece James on the right. 2 minutes to go. England have to equalise. James, right hand side of the box. Feints the cross, pulls it back instead. Phillips whipping it in, flicked up by Kane, and away and out of play for a throw that'll be taken on the Hungarian right-hand side.
Oh, well, that did sum up the performance, didn't it? Not a bad ball in from Calvin Phillips, and then Kane left it for Maguire, Maguire left it for Kane, and then it just wanders aimlessly out on that far side. You can't say that England haven't deserved this result. They were never really at it until they conceded. and that's not good enough.
They certainly played their best football in the last 25 minutes, but the damage had been done by then and should have been compounded with a glaring miss as well. The scoreline could have been worse. It is 1-0 to Hungary, and we've got a minute of stoppage time to go, and England can't get the ball, and the Hungarians will take it down towards the corner flag. And Fiola just given a little shove by Bowen, and Bowen has conceded a corner. Well, a goal kick has a goal kick been given, or has the right decision is corner? The referee looked to be pointing towards the edge of the 6-yard box, but it is a corner, and that is the correct decision. Bowen clearly had the last touch. They're in no hurry to take the corner, as you would well imagine, on the left-hand side. It is a night that is going to end in defeat for England. They're taking the corner short, Styles with it. There's going to be one English-born player on the winning side today, but it's not going to be a man in white. It's out of play for an England throw. Stones is going to take it. 10 seconds to go. Stones actually leaves it for James. England haven't got time to prevaricate here. James takes the throw. Stones volleys it forward, and it is Hungary's first win over England for 66 years. And they've deserved it. This has been the most inauspicious start to a Nations League campaign. And when you consider that England only have these 6 Nations League games to prepare for the World Cup, it is a horrible start to competitive football in 2022. The longest unbeaten streak in England history ends ignominiously in Budapest, where England just never got going. A formation that didn't work for the opposition that they were playing. A game plan that petered out, and England only in the last 25 minutes produced anything like the kind of football that they can, and even then it was still fractious and the ball was given away. Plenty of opportunities being created at the other end as well. The scoreline ultimately could have been worse, and the only positive really for England is that it has to get better. This was a very poor night. Hungary 1, England 0.
Well, I think you've been kind, Jim Proudfoot. That really was absolute rubbish from England. I'm just watching on the touchline as the players have left the